everyone! Welcome to another episode of We Don't Watch Movies, featuring me, Corinne.
And me, Monze.
Woo! And today, we are supposed to talk about Greenland.
Why bring it up if we're not going to?
No, I want to talk about it, but
Okay.
I saw a different movie. Have you seen Bad News Bears? I have to ask you about this.
The original or the remake?
The original.
No.
Okay.
Are we talking about Bad News Bears?
No, we don't. We can talk about that movie later. But I'm like, it's hit or miss whether Monze has seen this movie. But I watched it and I actually enjoyed it. But it is
The original. You said the original.
The original with Walter Matthau, how we pronounce his name?
Walter Matthau's in that?
Yep.
Oh.
And Vic Morrow. Are you thinking of the Billy Bob Thornton movie from 2005?
Maybe that's.
That's the remake.
I know that's the remake. I guess I just didn't realize Walter Matthau was in it. Oh, Tatum O'Neal.
Yeah, she's little in that movie. I think it was like right after Paper Moon she did this movie.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm gonna turn my AC on. Sorry, audio listeners. Which is everyone. Anyways. Anyway, I watched that movie last night with
That's stupid! I apologize to everyone listening to this. Which is everyone.
Yeah. Maybe
All
at
right.
another time we'll talk about Bad News Bears. But we're gonna talk about Greenland, which I haven't seen in a couple months. But it's a good movie.
Mm-hmm.
And good. Let me rephrase. It's a good disaster movie, which has different standards than regular movies.
Okay.
All right. So, Monze, why haven't you seen Greenland, the movie? You've had many an opportunity.
I have. So for the longest time, Gio had this on his movie list. And I don't even know how many, if it ever landed on it. I think it landed on it once. And I was like, no.
Does everyone get veto power in your movie thing, or is it just you?
Everyone does. Can I just say, I feel like I feel like Gio wins his pick every time.
Okay.
Because we have this newer system now.
Right.
Because I think the problem is I would veto all the time.
Yeah.
But I think I deserve to fucking veto. Alright? It is my right as the only woman in the group. I deserve it. I put up with a lot of shit.
It's called reparations.
So we have a new system now, where I kind of even wanted to show you the.
You can
the
show
feeds.
me.
Should I? Okay, let me
You can
find
show
it.
me. I'll describe it to our audio listeners, which is
To our audio
everyone.
Okay, so as you can
cute.
see,
How come Gio's
Yes.
name is a different font?
we all have different fonts.
Oh, you do? Oh, yours and Rufino's. Like, so what is Rufino's? Okay, I have so many opinions.
I think Rufino is an I husband. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So, as you can see, oh yeah, you're right. I should change this.
Yeah, and it's underlined for like no reason. All right, so to describe,
okay, yeah.
Can I visually describe what I'm looking at?
Sure.
Okay.
Visually describe it. Yeah.
Monze has created in Google Docs.
I didn't make this. Rufino made this.
Rufino.
So my friends, Rufino and Gio.
Monze is presenting a chart that her friend Rufino has made in Google Charts to Google Docs with the most atrocious color scheme I have ever seen.
Let us tell you. Wait. Oh wait. Continue.
For reference.
These colors are off. I never really realized.
How could you not realize how horrible these colors are together? As your art friend and arguably the only artist in this group of people, I cannot be quiet about this. So for reference, imagine a chart with a heading and then the body, and it's divided into 3 columns. Now the top row, which is just for the name, is in 3 different colors. Those colors are like a 70% yellow, black. They're right next to each other, and then the worst pink I've ever seen. It looks like Millennial Rose, and
I can't wait to scroll to the bottom.
And then their names are in completely different fonts. So Monze's is in some cute marker script with black. Rufino's is in this white serif script for some reason, italicized and with an underline, which I still don't understand, and it's white. And then Gio's is just white impact. No reason. Also, Monze's name is in all caps, and no one else's name is in all caps. And then below it is a column with matching font with its bullet list of movies. And so in Monze's, which we already described, the heading is yellow. The body is like a 70% teal. Rufino's body is orange. And Gio's...
Is it orange? It looks brown, like a brown orange.
Oh, it's like orange-brown, sure. And then Gio's is like that shade of blue that's not supposed to really exist. It's like the most saturated blue. Yves Saint Klein blue or whatever. Anyways, it's atrocious.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to scroll. I want you to see how many movies are in everyone's list, but then I'm going to get to the bottom and it's pretty funny.
Okay. It's a lot of movies.
So
5 pages! Oh my god. Why is there a Bulbasaur? Oh, and a Digimon. Oh, is that Aquaman?
Hold on, where's mine?
Oh my
I
god.
had one. What happened to it? Or maybe I didn't have one.
Oh. Anyway, so that's what it visually looks like.
Okay, well, if you can, for those who can, or whatever you see it, I have the longest list of movies.
Yes.
Rufino's is the second longest, and then he has a second subsection called horror that for just Gio and Rufino to watch, and I put that little heart thing because they love each other.
Yeah.
And then yeah, and then Gio's, because he's seen the fewest movies, has the smallest, right?
Okay.
And
why did they have Alien vs Predator in both lists?
Well, if we wanted to see what we put on our list, it doesn't matter if it's on someone else's list.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Although sometimes, like, Gio would be like, oh, you have it on your list, I'm taking it off mine. But yeah. I personally don't care, because to me it's, you're doubling your chances, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm gonna...
It's about the statistics here.
Yeah. I never really noticed how terrible this looks. Like, the colors are really bad, but I'm gonna explain. So, Rufino made this just, like, regular. And then Gio changed all, like, his colors and his font. So then Rufino changed his colors in his font, and I was like, what are you guys doing? So then I went in and changed my colors and font. And then Gio put a friggin' Bulbasaur, and then Rufino put a Charmander, and I was like, I'm not going... What is it?
It's a Digimon. It looks like Aquaman.
Oh, it is a Digimon,
yeah.
Sorry. And I was just like, you cannot make me do that, so I didn't do that.
I see.
Yes. So before we used to have a wheel, and then Rufino changed to this list. So the way it works is each week we pick a movie from someone's list. Mm-hmm. So what did we watch last week? Oh, last week I wasn't feeling good, so I left early and they watched a horror movie. So technically this week it's been Gio's turn for like 3 weeks because we haven't watched anything. Mm-hmm. We're gonna pick a movie from his list. Okay. So I feel like now I would be like, I usually will pick like 3 options. I would be like, these are the ones I'm gonna watch. These are the ones I'm thinking. Mm-hmm. Do you like any of those? Mm-hmm. And then what will always happen is Gio will pick 5, 7 other movies that none of which I named. And I said, okay, well, none of those are the ones I named. Mm-hmm. So like, can we figure something out? And usually he doesn't budge, so then I'm like, all right, I'll just watch one of your fucking movies.
I see.
So that's usually what ends up happening.
Uh-huh.
So I feel like this system actually prefers Gio, whereas the other system preferred me.
Yeah, you were vetoing all over the place with the other system.
Yeah. But I have the most movies. Mm-hmm. And again, so it doesn't favor me as much because there's not a higher chance of picking one of my films. So anyway, it was when it was on the wheel. It might have popped up maybe once or twice. What's the name of this movie? Greenland?
Greenland.
It's not even on the list anymore. I think Joe got, he also will also, like, after a while, be like, I don't want to watch it anymore. So he'll take it off. It'll be like, those 3 months I really wanted to watch it, and now it's like, whatever. And I'm just like, okay, dude, like, whatever. Whereas Rufino will put the movie on his list, and then he'll watch it on his own, and then he'll take it off his list.
Yeah.
I'm dealing with some terrible human beings. So anyway, I never watched the movie. Long story short, if it popped up, I vetoed it, and if it didn't pop up, I think because I Googled the movie, and it looked sad. And you told me it was a disaster movie.
Yes.
But that was after my whole vetoing of it. So I'm still glad I vetoed it because I'm not the biggest fan of a disaster film.
Yeah.
But yes, that's why I've never watched it.
I see. Sad is not how I would describe this film.
Yeah. I don't know what I read, but it was something that, like, something, and I was like, oh, this looks sad. I don't want to watch it.
Yeah.
Because, again, when I looked it up, it didn't read to me as a disaster film.
Yeah. That makes sense. Okay, so what do you think this movie is about?
I think it takes place in Greenland.
Okay.
I actually have no idea. I think it's a dad, Gerard Butler. I think he has a daughter. Daughter Butler. Maybe it's like the mom recently passed away, and Gerard Butler's just trying to get himself together. He just got to take care of his daughter, and they live, I don't know, in some small. Maybe he's like an oil driller or something.
Ooh.
So they kind of live in the middle of nowhere-ish. And what's a disaster? Is it a world disaster? Or is it like a just a disaster?
It's the world.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, okay. Thank you for that. So I'm gonna say maybe they do something on this oil rig. Like maybe they find something or they hit something, and it activates. I don't know, the stupid fucking tectonic plates or something dumbass. And
they drilled too far into the crust.
They drilled too far and too deep.
They drilled too far.
And so there's like a bunch of earthquakes all over the place, and he's like, oh no. He's like, what have we done? He's like, I gotta save my daughter. So he like goes and he goes to daughter, and the daughter's like, Dad, you don't care about me. I don't know, she's like 6.
Oh, that's a lot of ennui for a 6-year-old.
Yeah, that's why I said no way. I don't think that's her. She's like, Daddy, are we gonna end up like Mommy? Some dumb weird stuff. And he's like, no, Dada, I'm gonna save you. And so they're like, there's one place in the whole world where we're safe. Greenland.
Oh.
So they're like taking boats and trains and planes to Greenland. But maybe the daughter is sick. Maybe she has an illness. I don't know. She has an illness. I'm trying to think why I would read a sad. So maybe she has an illness, and as they like get to Greenland, she's like falling apart. Not like literally
falling apart.
My arm. She's just like not doing well. And they get there, and of course it was a big fat lie about how Greenland was the safest place. And they're like, oh no, what have I done? He's like, I put my daughter in danger. And he's working with other scientists or whatever to figure out how to stop it. He's like, the only way I can save my daughter is if I put my life in danger.
What is this Gerard Butler accent?
This is my bad Gerard Butler.
It's very bad. It's really funny though.
Because he has like he's a Scottish accent, but in most of these movies he tries to have like an American accent, but it's not a good American accent. So,
I see.
That's what I was trying to do, but I wasn't committing to it. So I just decided to do a random voice.
I understand. I'm sorry, I'm looking at a picture of him. He really looks like Russell Crowe to me.
And I don't know. He saves the day. The daughter survives, and he's like, "I should have been more involved in your life, daughter, and not have been so sad about my wife because my wife would have wanted me to take care of you, my only beautiful child." The end of the movie.
I see. All right, your setup. No, but I would watch that movie.
Setup all wrong.
The setup is all wrong, but I would watch that movie with that setup. I would watch it.
You know what? That's the stupidest setup ever.
I would watch it.
I know. I saw the look in your eyes. You're like I hit something in you. I hit the tectonic plates in you.
Yeah, you drilled
shook
deep
you
into
to
me.
your core.
I was like, wait, this is so stupid. And there's gonna be earthquakes. Sign me up. So that's a different disaster movie that's either out there that I haven't heard of or hasn't been made yet.
Let me write that down. I'm gonna write that script.
Yeah, write it. I want it. Let's write it together.
I'm gonna write this down. Dig too deep. Hit tectonic plates. Earthquakes galore.
We gotta send it to Roland Emmerich, and then the really cheesy message he tries to wrap it up in is it secretly, not secretly at all, about like how we need to move away from oil and into renewable fuel. That's what it is, because oil caused it, right? This is a scathing takedown of big oil. Wow, there's actually
you can't read my writing, but I wrote it down.
I see it. But you eventually touched on 2 points that are correct. Greenland. And we'll get to the other one. Yeah.
The daughter? Okay, no, continue.
We'll get onto it, yeah.
The dead wife? Alright, continue.
So
there's always a dead fucking wife in these movies.
Yep. So let me find the trailer. Now, for me, for reference for why I watched this movie, is I saw it recommended to me on my Roku TV. And
Roku TV.
My smart TV.
You know what you'd enjoy.
And I was like, this looks like a new disaster movie I haven't seen. And then I looked it up, and I looked up all the parents' guide and the spoiler and everything. I was like, okay, I think I want to watch this movie. Which I'm sure a lot of people will be like, why? But no, I have to check. Because specific types of disaster movies I want to watch. If it's sad, then I'll get depressed. I have to be in a different mood for that. So I looked it up, and it seemed like there wasn't too much weird, like, distressing deaths or anything in it. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I watched it, and it was great. So here's the trailer. He's got the Scottish accent. Well, I'll let you watch
he's
the
got
trailer.
the Scottish, just full Scot in here?
They wrote it into the story. All right, let me know when you're ready to watch it.
I'm ready.
All right.
I swear I'm gonna get
The trailer
my family into
premiere.
that bunker. Oh, it's a comet that destroys things? Oh, it's a son, not a daughter?
That's not the son, yeah.
Oh, that's that lady.
And Morena Baccarin.
Wayfield Foods was like the dumbest grocery store in the world.
I think they filmed this in like Georgia or something. It looks like the East
It
Coast.
doesn't look like a real
Yeah.
grocery store. They're having a comet watching party?
Yeah.
Wouldn't the birds have left before? Oh shit! Producer John Wick. I didn't like that movie.
Oh. Oh yeah, they're like in
Good.
Georgia, I think. Good.
We don't need Florida. Planet killers. extinction level events. The only safe place is Greenland. I called it.
I mean, that's pretty predictable from the title.
That's right. No one's gonna survive. Let's blow up the fucking plane.
Yeah.
Oh no, he lost his wife and his son. If you're gonna die, just accept it. You know what? We deserve to die.
Oh, this is my favorite part of the whole movie.
Yeah, Nathan.
I've never seen this trailer.
You've never seen
Because it was directly like advertised to me, like just as the thing, and I just looked it up. I've never seen the trailer.
I see. What is it? Operation 14?
I'm like, what is what's his name? Hugh Grant doing in here? I hope he plays the villain. He plays such a good villain.
Did you also click on that?
No, I saw it though. I got the same thing.
I just love Jason Statham.
Mm.
Oh, Guy Ritchie. Oh, and not April Plaza. Aubrey Plaza's in everything these days. She's in everything.
She's honestly had like a pretty consistent career, but she's popping off right now.
She's in that new. She's in that Agatha whatever.
Yeah.
I only know because I saw a gif of it. I haven't watched it.
Yeah.
She's gonna be in that new movie with Ford Francis Coppola, which I don't think is gonna make any money, and she's the Megalopolis or whatever.
Oh, the Adam Driver movie. I didn't know she was in that one. Yeah.
She's in it, and then right now she's in this Operation Fortune.
I think what she does is like all her projects happen at the same time. So then, yeah, because a few years ago she was in a lot of movies too. Like she was in that stalker, social media stalker movie, and then she was in a couple other movies at that point because this was like right after Parks and Rec. And then she was in Legion, and people really liked her in Legion. And then she kind of was down during like the early 2020s, and then now she's come back. So I think it's just like she's been working. It's just everything is now releasing, so it seems like she's in a lot. So, in my opinion,
Carrie Lewis is in this movie. Damn. Okay.
Yeah. So, do you want to revise any of what you think this movie is about?
I prefer my movie.
That's what I'm saying. I would watch your movie. I would 100% watch your movie. I would look up like the deaths, but then I would want to watch it. You know, I'd spend an unreasonable amount of time dedicated to looking it up before watching it.
Okay, so Gerard Butler. I don't know what he does for a living, but he's got a wife and a child, a son. And they're living their great lives, and I guess they hear about this comet, and I'm assuming Nathan is pretty into it, so he's like, okay, let's all celebrate, not celebrate, but like look at it and study it. Mm-hmm. And they have a, let's look at the comic party. You know what it reminded me of? That scene
in Independence Day? Never mind, continue.
I was like, the Challenger disaster.
Not. Oh my god!
That was the first thought because they're watching this
You're
thing
right.
like with this countdown, and then it was like, like something happened and they couldn't believe it. So that to me struck a chord, except like instead of coming like up, it's coming down. Anyway, that was the immediate connection I made.
I wonder if that was intentional.
I have no idea, but that was what I thought. I was like, oh, this is like, because all the kids, right, like during the Challenger disaster. All the kids were watching it on TV. Yeah. Like there was a teacher on board. Like everyone was like, yeah, and it was just awful. Anyway, they're all getting super excited, but they find out like, oh, this thing fucking, where is it? Turns out lands near and around them in Central Florida, and they're like, oh no, we gotta get out of here. But we hear the safest place in the world is Greenland, so we need to get to Greenland. And apparently it's a killer comet, and it's got little baby killer comet friends that are coming out to killer comet the planet. And as they try to escape, They get separated. Oh no, what are we gonna do? And so Gerard Butler is trying to fight his way back to his wife and his son. And the wife and the son are like, Nate, the little kid's like, what about Daddy? And she's like, we're gonna meet him in Greenland, don't worry, baby. And so they're all like decide they're gonna meet there, and I think it's kind of the same thing where they end up, they go there, but of course it's a big fake lie, or like there isn't room for everyone, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And maybe like Gerard Butler dies, and like the wife and the son are like survive. He's like, no, you have to go without me. It's important that you do survive. That kind of thing.
I see. Okay. A little closer, because we've seen the trailer. All right.
Because I just watched it.
Because you just watched the trailer, yeah. Let's get into the movie then. So, Gerard Butler plays a Scottish man living in Georgia, and he's a structural engineer. So, like, the movie opens of, like, him on the job for some reason.
We need to know what he does for a living.
Yeah.
Where's the buy-in? If I don't know his career, I don't know who he is.
Yeah. So they spend, in my opinion, a little too long on it. But it also kind of establishes, like, because I don't think a big studio made this movie. I think this is like a smaller movie with larger distribution. Yeah, the production companies are like whatever. It's distributed by STX Films, so it's not like a big budget movie. You can kind of tell in the opening. But, anyways. So, we establish he's a structural engineer, he's working on some big project, and he also works super long hours, so then when he finally comes home, there's his wife, but, like, they don't have a good relationship, and then his son, who is diabetic. Yes, and so that was the second thing you got right, that the child has an illness.
Child.
Yeah. Yeah. So he comes home, and he's like, all right, let's go watch this comet watching party, you know, so they're getting, like, supplies and stuff for it and everything, and the whole neighborhood is there to go watch it, and they're watching it, and they've been told that the comet is supposed to land into the ocean, so it's safe. Like, that's what they're expecting. That's why, like, when they're watching it, they're like, where is it? Because they thought it would land in the ocean, and so they had the camera trained on where they thought it would go, but the comet keeps zooming by, and they're like, And one thing I like about this movie is I do think it accurately captures how something like this might happen today. Like, how people today would behave, and how the government and the media and society and, like, the people in charge, just how things would play out. That is what felt realistic to me and what I enjoyed about the movie overall. So, before the comet watching party, though, when he's grocery shopping, he gets, like, a weird phone call, and it's, like, an automated call from the Department of Homeland Security, and they're basically saying, like, you and your family have been selected for emergency sheltering. And he's like, what is this? And he's looking around like, did anyone else get this phone call? But, like, no one has. He's like, okay, like, that's weird. So then they go to the comet party, and they've got, like, food and snacks and stuff, and they're all sitting in watching it, and as we see, the comet keeps going. And then they kind of hear something sort of weird or whatever. He goes outside, and then they get hit by the shock wave. And then they realize on the news the comet actually landed on land, and it landed on Central Florida, and it's devastated everything. And they're in Georgia, so that is really not that far. That's
really close.
Yeah, it's like the shock wave is so like widespread. It pretty much travels up the entire East Coast, and then the sky starts changing because everything is, like, on fire. And then while he's watching this happen, his phone goes off, and his TV, I don't understand how the TV gets it, but the smart TV gets a message basically saying, like, hey, Gerard Butler, you and your family have been selected. You need to go to XYZ checkpoint. And so it's on his TV, so everyone that's there, because, like, his whole neighborhood is, like, there, basically. Like, his friends are looking at that, and he's also got it on his phone. And they're like, why don't we have it? Why don't we have it on our phone? You know? So they're, like, they're like, maybe it's on our TV, you know, or something. But you get the sinking feeling of, like, oh, you know, it's just his family. And, like, when he got the message on his phone in the supermarket, it came onto the TV while his wife was home, but the wife didn't see it. So that's why it's kind of like, so everyone else is like, what? What's going on? What's going on? And the message is very, like, you can take one bag with you, and you cannot take anyone else with you. It can only be these 3 people. And it, like, reads out the government names. And it's like, it's just these 3 people, these bags, come meet at this and this place. And so the neighbors are kind of freaking out and sort of turning on him a little bit with, like, how come you got it? How come we didn't get it? Da-da-da-da. They get into the car. One of the neighbors is like, can you at least take our daughter with you? And he's like, I'm so sorry, but, like, we can't take anyone. It says we can't take anyone or we'll all get turned away. And the daughter's, like, his son's friend, too, and they're all, like, crying and stuff. And it's like, we have to go. So he drives away with just the family while the rest of the neighborhood is, like, devastated because none of them got the message. So let's see, what else? Oh, so they have to go to Air Force Base for evacuation. So it says that the fragment struck. So it was the fragment, and then the entire comet is coming to Earth, too. So that's like...
Okay, so it's like the pieces that are falling off.
Yeah. So they were expecting just the fragment to fall harmlessly in, like, the Bermuda Triangle, but it hit Florida, and the comet is falling apart. So it's like the fragments are falling onto Earth, and the comet is heading straight to Earth. So that's why it's like, it's an extinction level event. And it's kind of hinted, because they have this evacuation stuff set up, that they kind of were aware of the risk. Because why else would they have this? Like, clearly someone knew ahead of time, like, oh, this actually isn't going to go the way we planned. Let's try to get something going on. But the media wasn't aware of it just yet. Because obviously the media knows, and it's going to be a mass panic, right? So they have 2 days to get there, basically. And there's, of course, tons of traffic, because of course there's tons of traffic. And also it's like, what, like the fucking I-90, horrible highway. So they're trying to, like, go up there. And eventually they're like, we're not going to make it in time. We need to just walk. So they get out of the car and they walk, because they're almost there. They're, like, right at the exit, and they're backed up forever. So they walk over, but of course they forget their son's insulin in the fucking car.
But that's not...
So what happened was, it was in the bag, but he got cold, I think, and so he pulled out a blanket, and then the bag fell out. So they thought they had it, but then it had fallen out into the car. So that's what I'm remembering. It's something like that had happened. So it wasn't like, oh no, we left our son's backpack. It was like the backpack was supposed to have it, and then it fell out at some point because he pulled something out of his bag. So they realize this right when they're at the Air Force Base. So he's like, okay, my wife and son, you, like, go ahead. I'm going to go run back and go get his insulin. I'll meet you up. We'll evacuate together. But they get denied because the kid has diabetes. And so they're not letting anyone in with pre-existing conditions. They're like, your son can't come on.
Oh my god.
I know, which is so...
Wouldn't they have known already?
That's what makes it so realistic to me. I'm like, of course this would happen. You know, this is like... Because, yeah, it's like, why wouldn't you already know that your son, that this person's kid, like, you have access to the health records? Like, why wouldn't you put in there, like, it's so... Yeah. It's so frustrating. Because she's like, no, we have the thing, like, we have, like, my son has it on this thing, blah, blah, blah. They're like, we can't take him. We're not taking anyone with pre-existing conditions. Like, we're not taking anyone with chronic illness. Because essentially what they're doing is they're taking, like, a group. It's like in 2012, except you can't buy the ticket onto the Ark. They have a select group of people that are considered important for society rebuilding. And because Gerard Butler is a structural engineer, they need him to build buildings. So it's like you and your family. But then they also have this stupid, like, no chronic illness thing. Which, again, to me, feels like, of course the U.S. government would make this kind of fuck up, you know? Of course it would be this kind of thing. So it's very frustrating, and the mom is going, like, bonkers, and she's like, what are you talking about? We need to be on that plane, blah, 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 blah. And then eventually, yeah, they get left behind. Like, they get fully escorted off because of his medical condition. So, but he comes back. Like, he makes it back there. So he's like, all right, I got my kids' stuff, and he somehow makes it onto the plane. And he's like, all right, I'm on here, but like where, cause he's like, where are my wife and kids? Where are my wife and kids? They're like, we don't know, but we got to get you on the plane. Just get on. Like, it's chaos. It's so unorganized. It's like the National Guard. They don't know what they're doing, right? And
classic National Guard.
Yeah, pretty much. So, and then while he's on the plane, someone looks at him and sees he's got like the diabetes stuff, like the insulin, and he's like, how did you get on here? And he's like, what are you talking about? He's like, how did you get on here? Because my sister and her kid got denied for having, you know, a similar medical condition. So they were saying they wouldn't let it, but how did you get on? Like, that's not fair. And that's when Gerard Butler realizes, oh, my wife and son didn't make it on here if they're denying people. So he's like, I gotta get off the plane. And they're like,
I gotta save my wife and child.
Like, the plane's like about to leave. He's like, no, I gotta get off.
Get me off.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like right as he gets off the plane, that's when like the mob is trying to get in, cause like you need like a special wristband or like a whatever, you know, you need like the pass, like the phone thing. And they finally break through and they're like trying to get onto the plane, and then somehow one of the planes blows up and everything. It's like, it's chaos. He finally makes it back to his car. I don't know why his wife did not just stay in the car, but she leaves a note that's like, hey, I'm going to my dad's house in Lexington, Kentucky. And I'm like, but why wouldn't you just wait for him? You know, I don't know what her line of thinking was, but for some reason,
assume he would just get on and like leave her.
I maybe.
Although, couldn't she like Google how to hotwire a car and just take the car?
I have no
Is
idea.
she gonna walk? I mean, you're in Georgia. Georgia's still pretty far from Kentucky.
Yeah, I have no clue, but because.
All right.
Anyways.
This woman's not making great decisions. All right.
Yeah, so they're like, my dad's in Kentucky. We're gonna go up there, you know. So.
Nowhere safer than Kentucky. Okay.
Yeah, of course. So they break into like a CVS to go look for medical supplies because her son is feeling low, so they need to get insulin. And then they hitchhike a ride from this couple. And they're like, because they're on their way up to some other location, right? So she's like, oh my God, thank you so much. Like, you know, we're trying, I got separated from my husband. We just drop us off in Kentucky. He's going to meet us there. And they're like, okay, that's no problem. But then like they notice that they're wearing the wristbands, which means they can, yeah. So basically the guy in the couple he's kind of like, oh, like he has some weird reason, because they seem like okay people, but then he has some weird reasoning where he's like, you know, we can just take care of your son. And she's like, what are you talking about? He's like, well, we'll take care of your son. She's like, what? So they like cut the wristband off of her to have it for them, and then throw her out of the car and kidnap her kid, basically. And she's like, ah, like screaming on the side of the highway, like trying to chase after the car, and they drive off with the kid. So
I mean, I know you shouldn't victim blame, but she deserved it.
So that what happens, because they're trying to get onto the flight. So now Gerard Butler, he's staggering around looking for his wife, and he finds there's like a truck full of people that they're trying to like kind of smuggle over to Canada, right? So he's like, okay, just drop me off in Lexington. I think you're going north, I'm going north, just take me here. So he's over there and he's talking to the people, and I don't know if you remember from Vine that guy King Batch. He was like a really popular Vine star. He's in this movie. I was like, is that King Batch? Anyway, so he's in here.
I have no idea.
If you know, you know.
If you know, you know.
He's got a pretty distinctive face, but anyways, if you don't know, then you don't know. But if you do, then you know. So they're talking, and this guy is kind of telling him like, oh yeah, we're going to Ontario, and he's like, and he's the one that tells him, you know, the final destination is Greenland. Like, they've got private planes flying to Greenland because there's a bunker there, you know, so some people got a notification that they would go there, you know, and so we're just going to hitch, like, a chartered flight to Greenland, even though we didn't get the text message. And then this other guy, this, like, typical redneck southerner guy, is, like, across them, making eyes at him, and he's like, where's that accent from? And the guy's like, oh, I'm from Scotland. And he sees that he has, like, the wristband, too. And he's like, I just don't think it's fair that, like, a non-American can... Yeah.
Oh
so he pulls, like, the anti-immigration thing, but it's, like, white-on-white violence. and he tries to cut the wristband off of him. So they have a brawl inside the truck. And, like, the truck is, like, the stereotypical type of, like, truck where, like, you would smuggle people in. Like, that's, like, the setup, right? It's not very secure. It's not a box car. So they're fighting, and they cause the truck to crash. Of course. And then they continue fighting outside, and then Gerard Butler has to kill this man because the man is, like, trying to kill him. And then the guy that told him about Greenland, he died during the crash, basically. So that scene I didn't want to watch because I was like, this seems like too, I don't want to watch this part.
Okay, I think I missed it when you said it. So it's here when he learns about Greenland being a safe place.
Yes.
Okay.
Because in the text message, they don't tell him the final destination.
Yeah,
they just say go to the Air Force base. Yeah.
Okay.
But then the other guy's like, oh, I heard that it's actually in Greenland. So then the next day, he learns that the largest fragment is going to hit in like 24 hours. And then while this is happening, so that couple that kidnapped the kid are at, like, they get to another Air Force base, and they try to pretend they're the kid's parents. So he, like, the guy, like, tells his girlfriend, like, just, because she's like, I can't, like, keep it on because they cut it off of her. And he's like, just kind of, like, try to make it look like it's on you. And then he holds the kid, and he's like, hey, we need to get on. We have wristbands, blah, blah, we have wristbands. And they're trying to, like, look through and be like, okay, are you this and this? But then the kid eventually, like, he doesn't look happy. And he eventually is like, these are not my parents. You know, these are not my parents. I don't know them. Even though the guy threatened him before, like, if you say anything, like, you're never going to see your mom again or whatever. But then when they get there, he tells the girl, he's like, starts crying. He's like, these aren't my parents. I don't know them. Like, I don't know where my mom is. So then, thankfully, it gets him away, which is probably the smartest thing, like, any kid could do in that situation. Like, that is what you should do if you're a child, right? And you've been kidnapped, is tell someone, I don't know these people. So then he's in, like, a FEMA camp, and then his mom somehow ends up there too, and then they reunite. Like, she finds her son. Yeah. So, yay, they're together.
That's the least realistic part of this film.
That they found each other.
Family reunification.
Yeah.
Like a true American government. Okay, continue.
So then Gerard Butler steals a car. I don't remember how he steals a car, but he just does. And
he's Gerard Butler.
Yeah, no explanation needed. So he steals a car, and then he drives the rest of the way up to Kensington. So he goes to his father-in-law's place. The father-in-law is like, you should have...
I haven't seen my daughter and grandson.
Pretty much. And he's like, you should have treated her better, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, I know.
I don't have time for this.
And then somehow, again, the daughter and the son arrive there too. I think she calls her dad, and then the dad's like, okay, I know where they are, I'm gonna go get, like, they get off the bus and they go get them, sort of thing. Okay. So now the whole family is reunited perfectly.
Reunited, and it feels so good.
Yep.
Okay.
And then somehow they get confirmation that, the underground bunkers are near this base in Greenland. And so they're confirmed, like, that's where everything is going. That's, like, the safe place. So we need to go to Greenland.
I don't think you can make it there in less than 24 hours.
Well, they're gonna try. I think they even... I feel like they actually say that line. Like, I don't even know how you'll make it. And they were like, there's one way where maybe we could. Do we want to, like, just wait to die? Or do we want to try to go for it? So they're like, let's try to go for it. And then but the father-in-law is like, my wife died in this house. I was born in this house. I'm gonna die in this house.
Yeah. It's such an old person thing. My grandma is like, I'm not gonna leave Mexico. I'm gonna fucking die here now. Like, this is where I was born here. I'm gonna die here. It's like, woman, we just want you to come to the United States for 2 weeks to celebrate someone's party. Like, can't we just celebrate someone's birthday for 2 weeks? Jesus, woman, I don't think you're gonna die.
It's like, hey,
within those 2 weeks, you're way too alive and kicking for that.
Can you come to my wedding? I was born in Mexico and I'm gonna die.
I'm gonna die here. All right, thanks, Grandma. You're 90 years old.
That's so funny. But yeah, like, whenever they're interviewing people that didn't evacuate for the hurricane or have no plans to, it's always like, I was born here, my mom was born here.
This was my mom's house.
Yeah. I'm gonna die.
My favorite dog, Charlie, was buried under that tree 57 years ago, and I told him I'd never leave him. Like, bruh.
Yeah.
Those people are dead.
Yeah.
Save yourself.
Yeah. As someone who has, like, never, like, permanently had a childhood home, I'm like, I literally cannot relate.
Don't get it.
Yeah. Maybe if I buy a house, I'd get it, because I'd be like, no, you don't understand.
You don't understand. I have a 30-year mortgage. I pay $2,000 a month.
But even then,
I will die here. You can bury my body in the walls of this house.
Right? I don't want to go through the house buying process again. I'd rather die. Anyway.
I doubt the insurance will cover a down payment for my next home.
Right? So they're like, okay, we need to go. So they decide they have just enough time to reach that airport in Ontario, where that other place was going to. Right? Because that's the only place where planes are still flying out of, is this privately run place. Okay. So they decide to go, and the dad gives them their truck. He's like, good luck, blah, blah, blah. So they make it to upstate New York. Honestly, pretty good time. Pretty good timing. And my favorite scene of the movie, this is just such an iconic scene. I have to look up the direct quote. It's just...
Is that the one with the fireballs?
Yeah, it was... This, I was already having a great time with the film, but this scene...
the time of my life.
This scene truly was just like, this has done it. This has solidified it.
My Jove, they've done it.
Yeah. So... Basically, they're on the highway, and of course the highway is jammed. There's been a traffic accident or something. So they're waiting, and then they get the emergency alert on the phone. And this guy going, this is an emergency alert. Small molten debris expected to fall in upstate New York. And the wife is like, that's where we are. And then... and then the next line is, seek shelter immediately. Do not stand in the open. And then it just keeps repeating, and then that's when we see, in the trailer, the asteroid starts hitting. I don't know why, but that just really... I was like, of course, that's actually what would happen. We would get a stupid emergency alert 2 seconds before it happens, where we can't even do anything. Just like the earthquake alerts that I get. They happen while the earthquake is happening. It's like, this is not helpful.
Alert! There's an earthquake! I'm aware!
Yeah. So that happens, and it's pretty frightening, and they have to, they for once, the underpass is actually the safest place to be, so they run under the underpass, and they kind of wait there. And then they get back in the car and continue driving to Canada. So, then they learn over the radio that this big fragment is 9 miles wide and is gonna hit Western Europe, and obliterate the continent.
Well, I'm glad it's hitting Europe first.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
The fucking colonizers deserve to go first.
Yeah. So then they finally arrive at the airport, and they barely make it on time, but they just run. I think the plane is leaving, and he drives onto the tarmac and blocks the plane from leaving. And he's like, please just take my wife and kids at least. They're like, move out of the way. He's like, I'm not moving out of the way until you at least take my wife and kids. They're like, okay, but then they take him too. So they all, because she's like, don't get off the plane until my husband is on here. Oh my God.
Oh my God.
So they finally get on. The pilot is like, can we go? Can we go? Can we finally go? The pilot is over it. So then they finally get off the tarmac, and they fly, and they just make it in time. But because of that, when they reach Greenland, one of the comet fragments strikes off the coast, and so there's a shock wave. It hits the plane, and the plane crashes. But everyone on the plane, I think, survives. So then they flag down a military truck, and they get into the bunker. And they literally get into the bunker right at the last second. They get to the room they need to be in, and they all hug right when it hits, basically. And it's kind of did it work? Did it not work? But then, of course, 9 months later, the gestational period for a human, the bunker is able to make radio contact with other bunkers, I guess. So this is the Western Hemisphere American bunker, and I guess there's other bunkers around the world. And they exit. It's finally, the oxygen levels are good enough. They go out and they see the devastated world around them and wonder how they're going to rebuild. So that is the movie. And there's also some theme about, like, my friend said that when you die, your life passes before your eyes. Is that true? And then they kind of, like, touch on that a bit, I guess. But, yeah. So that's the movie.
So according to scientific estimations, an asteroid would need to be around 60 miles wide to destroy Earth and wipe all life on the planet. An asteroid as small as 0.6 miles or 1 kilometer wide could potentially cause catastrophic global damage and disrupt civilization.
I feel like a 9-mile wide thing would put a dent in human history.
Yeah.
I think, like, a significant... That's at least half the population, if not more, just gone. Like, immediately, I think. Because of the shockwaves.
Well, at least all of Europe.
At least, yeah. So, which I don't think is half of the population, but depending on where it hit, it could do some real damage. So, but that's the movie. And I enjoyed it. It was a good time. Focused a lot on the family, which is like, okay, whatever, but we still got some, like, decent destruction scenes. So it just felt like a solid, like, it's not perfect, but it was kind of cheesy, but that's okay. That's what I like out of a disaster movie. Thoughts?
I feel like in most of these, you usually see the progression of, like, the family, the husband and wife really out, and they come together. I feel like in the story you told me, there wasn't that.
They, like, slowly get together. Like, they get closer. I just... didn't leave an impact,
I'm just saying, like, because thinking about, like, 2012, right? Like, there's a stepdad and the whatever, and it's like, you can... Even when you told that story to me, like, I could see, like, those two as a relationship. And here, it just felt like, they don't get along. And then it was like, don't you dare leave my husband! Right? Like, I was like, what? Oh, where was the relationship building here? But, and again, you just told it to me. I'm sure that was there, but it probably wasn't that significant storytelling-wise. I mean, I guess it's not as sad as I thought it was gonna be.
It's not sad, yeah.
It's not sad at all.
There's, like, sad elements, like, in the beginning when he has to leave his neighbors. There's some, like, emotional stuff going on there. And just, like, you feel uncomfortable, like he probably does, of, like, oh, I'm gonna live and they're gonna die, right? Like, that's, like, a really uncomfortable feeling. So there's, like, emotional bits, but it's not sad. It's not, like, melancholia or,
I think when I saw, or whatever I read, I think it felt more like, it didn't seem like a disaster movie at all. So I guess there's that, although I still don't think I'd want to watch. Again, I'm not the target audience for disaster movies.
Yeah.
Green, you are the target audience.
I am.
I just think about, like, how much it's gonna cost.
To rebuild?
Even in, like, superhero movies, like, when they're destroying things, I'm just like, that's gonna cost the taxpayer. Like, how long is it gonna take? Like, that's gonna disrupt things like traffic. Like, I'm just thinking of all of the logistical things. I also just think in a disaster, it'd be better to die than to survive, because I wouldn't want to be part of the team that has to put shit back together. Like, that is just so stressful.
I see.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'd be like, you know what? It's cool. You know, I got 24 hours. That's alright. You know? That's fine. Yeah, I get to finish maybe a TV show. I get to die doing the things I love. You know what I'm saying? If I go, I go. If I survive, I survive. But I don't want to be like, I have survived, and now I have to rebuild, and, like, my government and everything. Like, that's too much. That, to me, is too much. I don't like that. I don't like that I have that responsibility on my shoulders. I have enough anxiety, right? Like, I don't need to know that, like, this little boy has diabetes, and therefore we need to figure out the insulin issue, right? Which also, I was thinking, if they don't want people with pre, pre-existing conditions. Did the mom grab enough insulin for this child to survive for at least a year/9 months, right? I'm assuming she didn't. So that kid has, he hasn't died. I'm assuming he would have done maybe died, but it would be like, I don't know what he's eating. I don't know how you're balancing his blood sugar levels, lady, but I don't think you, right? Like, are all of our scientists alive? Are our insulin people? Do we have a lab here? Right? Like, that to me is too much. Yeah. Too much.
It is a lot, yeah.
Yeah. So, like, even like my mom loves The Walking Dead. I'd be like, no. If I have to live an existence where, like, I'm scrounging around for food, everyone smells like it's the medieval times, and there's fucking zombies out there, hard pass. Mm-hmm. You know what? Just gonna chill, wait for my death time. You know, I think that's the way to do it.
Zombies is like a whole other issue to me. Like, that's just... There's that anime that I don't know if I'd recommend, but it's like How to Survive the End of the World or something like that, and it's about like this guy that works like this dead-end job, and he doesn't even realize the apocalypse happens, and then it happens, and it's kind of like how he deals with it. And for a while he's just holed up away in his room, and he has to leave because he needs to get beer or something. But for me, I'm like, that's probably, if I like woke up and was inside at the time that I learned this was happening, that's probably what I would do. I would just stay in my apartment for as long as I could, and then just slowly starve to death, which is like the natural way you're supposed to die anyways. So
the natural order of dying is starving.
Well, like that is what happens. Like, even like animals in old age, they can't eat anymore. So that's like the actual cause of death is they are too weak to eat, so then they starve. So that's like, and then I hear like when at some point in the starvation it doesn't hurt anymore and you get like euphoria. So that's what people are like, I think this is like the natural way you're supposed to go. So I'm like, that's probably what I would do. I don't think I would go out unless it was genuinely safe, because I would just be so terrified.
I'd be scared out of my mind.
Yeah. I wouldn't even want to like risk it unless it was sort of like, here's what you do sort of thing, or, you know, whatever. But like, if the zombies can run, I'm not going outside. If they're just kind of walking, then maybe. But
if they're meandering,
yeah. So plus, like, if you don't go outside, eventually the zombies will starve out.
Yes.
So it's just like lock in place for COVID. Of just like, don't go outside, starve them out, and then eventually they will get, you know, taken care of.
I have enough rice to live for at least 3 months.
Yeah, I could make my food last.
I have eaten rice every single day.
Wow.
And it's like...
Is this news for you?
Best carb in the world.
Yeah.
Like, I love rice.
Yeah.
So much.
Yeah, me too. I've also eaten rice every single day.
Yeah, I know you do, but like I usually don't eat rice every single day. I usually have like soup, which for me is just like a pasta, which again is just another carb. But,
yeah.
I've had like white rice. I've had Puerto Rican rice. Ooh. I've had Mexican rice. Ooh. Like, I've had different types of rice. I'm having all the rice.
Yeah.
I had fried rice. So like,
well, there you go.
I'm just like, and each time I'm just like, God, rice is so fucking good.
Yeah. There's like that chart where it's like you have to give up one carb. I'm like, well, I'm not giving up rice. If anything, I haven't eaten bread all week.
I would give up bread in a heartbeat. I don't really even like bread.
I really like bread, but I think if I had to, it'd be either pasta or bread, you know. Probably pasta, honestly. I don't think ramen counts as pasta. Like, I like pasta, but I think I could live without pasta. Just so I could have bread. So, yeah. But yeah, I don't know. If it was like the end of the world, I think I would be like, all right, how realistic is it? Like, what are my options? What's my chances of survival? Is there any way I could get to XYZ? And if not, then like, is there any way I could survive where I am right now? Like, what can I do? And if that's still like a no, I'd probably be very sad, and then I'd probably just want to spend time with my family at that point. So that's likely what I would do. I wouldn't do the thing where I'd preemptively kill myself. I don't think I'd do that. I would still try to survive personally, I think, to just try to make it. 'Cause like, I know you're talking about, I don't want to rebuild. I'm not thinking about that. I'm like, let me just survive the disaster, and then just...
In my mind, of course I would survive the disaster. Are you kidding me?
And then I'd be like, let me
just... to society. I just don't want to do it.
I see.
I don't want to fulfill that role.
I see.
I don't want this destiny, you know what I'm saying?
This is the denial of the call to action that the hero has.
I'm denying the call to action.
I see. Got it.
I'm aware I'm the chosen one, I just don't want to.
You don't want it, yes. Makes sense to me. Alright. Well, what would you rate this movie?
Oh, alright, Greenland. This has been a wacky episode.
It's all related. We've had tangents, but they're all related.
Yeah. That's how you know we have ADHD.
Yeah.
The wild road we take. I don't know. I guess a 3 out of 5. It wasn't awful. I'm glad Gerard Butler is keeping his Scottish accent and doing a bad American accent.
Yeah.
Again, I don't think I'd watch it, but it's good to know what happens.
Just like to keep in your database, so you just know.
Yeah, for my mind database.
Just so you know. Yeah.
Just so I know.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just gotta know.
I know.
Yeah, you know.
I know.
I don't know what I'm talking about anymore.
Remember when we were... Okay, hold on. I would give this movie a 4 out of 5. But remember when we were talking about the Pope's Exorcist? I just edited that episode. And we were going over, like, I was like, what did these writers work on before? And one of them worked on Queen of the Damned. And I was like, I gotta look up that movie later. So I looked it up. That movie is a sequel to Interview with a Vampire.
Is it really?
Yes. And it features Aaliyah. Yeah.
From,
she...
Makes You Rest in Peace.
Yes.
R&B singer of the late 90s.
Yes. But it's a sequel to Interview with a Vampire.
Oh.
And she plays the first vampire.
Yeah, she plays
That's what that movie's about.
The, quote, Queen of the Damned.
Yeah. Lestat basically becomes a rock star. Like, I was reading, I was like, how is this a real movie? What?
Dream big.
Yeah. Anyways, I just needed to tell you that because I wanted it, and I didn't know if you knew because I didn't know. Nothing about that DVD cover would make me think that's what that movie is about.
Yeah, it's like her, right? And
yeah.
It's kind of like in a silhouette.
Yeah.
There might be like a tattoo or something.
Yeah.
It's like dark, like bluish or something.
Yeah, I thought it was like...
That's like such a visceral memory in my mind.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't know why. As soon as you said that image popped into my head, like at Blockbuster, like seeing
That's what I'm saying. We've all seen that movie at Blockbuster.
And
like, what is this, right?
What is this? Don't look at that. Don't look at that. Right? Like,
exactly. It's like, this looks scary.
Right, yeah, like...
Anyways, I just needed to tell you that.
Okay,
so yeah,
4 out of 5 for you.
4 out of 5 for me because I appreciate, again, that it just felt very modern. In a way that other disaster movies, especially the Roland Emmerich varieties, don't really feel super modern. Like, even Twisters, like, there's a modern take to it, like the emergency alert of the tornado, right, when they're at the rodeo, right? Like, I love shit like that, where you see the technology in place for it, but it's not really about the human response to a natural disaster movie because they're storm chasers, right? But then this one, it's like, this is a human reaction to a disaster, and it feels modern and updated, and was released in 2020, so it was made before COVID. But there's a lot that is still similar to, like, how we handled COVID, because that technically was also, like, a natural disaster of the viral form, right?
Yeah.
So it was just very interesting for me to see it done like that. Which is why I would give it a 4 out of 5 compared to, like, other movies that I like for more cheesy spectacle reasons. For this, it was the modernity aspect of it that I really liked. So, anyways, so that's the episode. If you've seen Greenland, let me know. Let me know what you think. Let us know if you would watch Monze's version of Greenland and if she should write that script. My vote is yes. Monze, where can they find us?
You can find us at We Don't Watch Movies Pod on Instagram. You can find me
Yep.
on Instagram at Magic Monster.
Yep.
And Corinne, what about you?
You can find me on Instagram at Karina's Korean. So thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.